All right, everybody. Today we're going to look at an overlooked album that is a favorite of mine. This album is definitely one of those albums that's out there on the fringe. In the late 70s, early 80s, there was a band called Japan. Great, great band. David Sylvian on vocals, Mick Karn on bass, Richard Barbieri on keyboards, and Steve Jansen on drums, who was actually David Sylvian's brother. They were a phenomenal band. They actually did a comeback album in I want to say it's either the late 80s, early 90s, called Rain Tree Crow. But David Sylvian, after the band broke up, had a solo career. And this album is from 1986. The album features his brother Steve Jansen on drums, and Richard Barbieri plays keyboards. But we have Bill Nelson also on guitar, who co-wrote a song. We have Robert Fripp all over the record, who also co-wrote some songs. And this album is phenomenal. Now, we'll be getting to Bill Nelson later on in these. He has an overlooked album that'll be coming down the pike probably a while from now. I have so many that I'm working on here. But this album, Gone to Earth, has such a great sound and vibe. Let's just kick it off. Song 1, Taking the Veil. This song starts with an absolute crushing drum beat that I love. The feel of it's great because the kick comes on one and the snare is on one of the next bar. Once the groove kicks in before the vocal, it's just great. Anyway, this song, Dave has a real deep voice, and it's got a nice tone to it, and it just fits in great. And this song is awesome. Song 2, Laughter and Forgetting. This song is basically him singing just to a piano, and it's beautiful. It's great. It starts to set the vibe with some atmospherics. I used to go to sleep to this album a lot in the 90s, and what I would do is the first song would come on, I'd listen to it, and then I would start to think about going to sleep, because from this point on, the album takes a real chill compared to the first song, which is somewhat up-tempo. Song 3, Before the Bullfight, has just a real nice full band sound again. Just a nice groove, very atmospheric. It's got a nice melody. I think it's great. The next song on this album is called Gone to Earth. This is the title track. This is basically like Robert Fripp playing some real outside stuff. There is no way that Robert Fripp couldn't have had a part in the writing of this song, because, I mean, it is just, I don't know how you would even write what he does on it. And David Sylvian is singing a melody on top of it, and I would say it's very avant-garde, but I love it. It's such a great piece. I love this song. Song 5 is Wave, a great song. This haunting guitar line that's played throughout is just great. It's a great song. Again, there's almost like this real, it almost feels like you're walking through the desert when you're listening to this record. It's like just the grooves and the feel, some of the almost Egyptian sounding scales that Robert Fripp is playing in the background. But anyways, this is a great track. Song 6 on this album is a song called Riverman. Very cool, bass-driven song. Basically just playing do-do-do-doom, boom, which I love. I love the harmonies in the chorus section. Again, it's hard for me to describe some of these songs because they're just out there, but I think you would dig this record. It's a lot of fun. It's not something you're going to listen to on one listen if you're listening in your car and be like, oh, I love this. But if you're doing something else and it's playing and it starts to get into your being, you'll dig it, I think. Song 7 on this album is a song called Silver Moon. This is where the album kind of makes a little bit of a change. The mood changes on this song, and it seems somewhat uplifting. It's got a prettier melody. There's a prettier piano playing against the band. It's not so atmospheric and dark as the first 6 songs are. Well, yeah, there's like an atmosphere of darkness that's over the first 6. This is now, there seems to be like a morning feel to this song. Song 8 is a song called The Healing Place. This song is just a very haunting repetition of a groove while there's a guy talking in the background. I think the guy's name is Joseph Baez or something like that. But it almost sounds like years ago I used to listen to this physicist that used to do these talks, and I can't remember his name. But it sounds like that put to music, but it's not. It's very cool, very chill. Song 9 is called Answered Prayers. This one is with Bill Nelson. It is very atmospheric. A lot of keyboards in the beginning, building a vibe, and then the guitar comes in from Bill Nelson and he plays a melody, and it's really nice. Again, I can't really say too much about describing it because it's such mood stuff. It makes more of how you feel than anything. Song 10, Where the Railroad Meets the Sea. This song, if I felt like I was in prison or in a movie and we're waiting for something to happen, like we're just watching time go by, this is the song I would play. It is, it just makes you feel like you're waiting for something. There's a beautiful build-up in it that doesn't go anywhere, but it's the point. It's really nice. Song 11, The Wooden Cross. This song is really like ambient guitar 101. There's some beautiful stuff going on here. It's a lot of swells. At this point of the album, you feel like you're just listening to what you would call filler, but not really. There's a vibe that's still going on in this record that it's definitely welcomed. Again, I love it. Song 12 is a song called Home. This song, it kind of brings back the theme of an earlier song, but it has this daunting piano part that's being played. I would say the song kind of reminds me of Lead a Normal Life by Peter Gabriel. It's beautiful. I mean, I think the piano playing's really nice. Everything about it, I really like this record. Song 13 on this album, the last song, Upon This Earth. And when I say the last song, there are longer extended versions of this album. I'm giving you when the CD came out, and I bought it in the late 80s, like maybe 89, 90. There was 13 songs on this album. So the song Upon This Earth is another vibey Robert Fripp co-written piece where he's playing. There seems to be a lot of slide work going on. Robert Graves is giving a lecture here, and it sounds like they're interweaving that with this song. And it's beautiful. I love this record a lot. This whole album has a vibe. You know, up to like the first 10 songs, you feel like you have a complete album. And then there's this leftover of ambient stuff that it sounds like when everybody got together, they wanted to nail it. And they do. And it's a great album, and I highly recommend it. I would recommend checking out any of the Japan albums, although the recordings are somewhat dated. It was basically the basis for what Duran Duran would become. Years ago, I worked with a guy in Boston who, when he turned me on to Japan, would say Duran Duran is like a pop version of Japan. So in the late 90s, I got an offer. I was friendly with John Taylor from Duran Duran, and I got an offer to play in his band to do a charity event. And I was telling John, I said, hey, listen, I have a buddy of mine, because we were talking music, and John loved a few records. I won't tell you which, because it will also be in my overlooked records. And we were laughing about music, and we brought up Japan. And I said, hey, I have to tell you something. I had a buddy that turned me on to Japan, and he would say that you guys were a pop rip of Japan. And John laughed and said, well, let me tell you a story. When I was 16 years old, Nick Rhodes and I took a train from Birmingham to London to see Japan. They were like 16. They said they had their elbows on the stage. They were like the first ones there. And when the show was over, they were like, we got to sound just like these guys, but be more poppy. And I thought, I don't know if it's true, but that's what he told me. And it's hysterical. I would assume it's true. Why would he tell a story like that? But it's hilarious. So, anyways, David Sylvian still makes albums. He's still great. The band's still great. Check out this album. I'll see you next week. Very good.